And you are watching React 30 Days Challenge, and we have reached the middle of our course. We are working on adding interactivity, and today we're going to see state as a snapshot. So before that, what we have learned about what state is, how render and commit works. Now we will going to learn how state as a snapshot works. Let's get started. State variable might look like a regular JS variable that you can read and write. So basically, when we deal with state, we do not think very much about what state exactly is. We always focus on what we can do with the state, but what exactly state is, let's learn that. However, state behaves more like a snapshot. Okay, so what is a snapshot? Let's see that. Setting it does not change the state variable you already have, but instead trigger a re-render. So what it's saying a snapshot means is like when you set, it will not change the already present state of different variables, but it will just trigger a re-render. So I'm gonna add this to our notes. Okay, what we will going to learn, how setting state triggers re-renders. Okay, when and how state updates, why state does not update immediately after you set it, how event handlers access snapshot of the state. That is very important, how event handlers access state. So let's start it. Setting the state triggers render. Okay, we know whenever we set a state, it will trigger a re-render. So you might think of your user interface as the changing directly in response of the user event like click. Okay, yeah, we do. In React, it works little differently from this mental model. Okay, so it's not basically when you click on a button something happens. On previous page you saw that setting state requires re-render from React. Okay, so in render and commit we saw that. If you have not watched this video, I would recommend to go and watch it. From there you will have a better clarity. This means that an interface to react to event, you need to update the state. So basically whenever you do any event, it will not update or re-render the screen, but on the handle of event, when you set state based on that user interaction, then it will re-render. In this example, when you press set is sent true, does the react to re-render the UI. So here, okay, so this is a form where we will submit a form. When you submit the form, it will not re-render the screen, but on submit, when we set is sent true, whenever we do that, then it will render the screen or re-render the screen. So this piece of line is what is the cause of re-rendering, not exactly this one, the button or the click. So yeah, this is what they're trying to say. So if this is hi, if you send it, you will say your message is on its way. Here's what happened when you click the button. The on submit event handler executes. So whenever you click, on submit will execute. Set is sent true. Set is sent, sets its value to true, which will queue a new render. So whenever you use the set method, what happens? It do two things. First, it will update the value of your state variable, and second, it will queue a re-render. React re-renders component according to the new is sent value. Now what React does, whenever that re-render is being called, it will use the updated value of the set state variable. Let's take a closer look at the relationship between state and rendering. Okay, rendering takes a snapshot in time. This is interesting. Okay, rendering means that React is calling your component, which is a function. Okay, JSX you return from that function is like a snapshot of the UI in time. Props, event handler, and local variables were all calculated using its states at the time of the render. So basically, rendering means you're calling a component function. We know how to create a component function, and it will return your JSX, right? Now, JSX will have all the information of what local variables we are using, what props we are using, what event handlers we are using at the time of render. Unlike a photograph or movie frame, the UI snapshots your return is interactive. Okay, it includes the logic like event handler that specify what happens in the response of the input. React then update the screen to match the snapshot, connects to the event handler. So basically they are saying like whatever is returned is like a snapshot, but not like what we see in movies or photographs. It has logic. So basically if you tell something the event handler to do, it will do that, update your photograph on the snapshot and send the response. React then update the screen to match this snapshot and connect the event handlers. So what React will do, it will compare your old screen to the snapshot and changes what new changes you have introduced and match them. As a result, pressing a button will trigger the click handler from your JSX. As a result, pressing a button will trigger the click handler from your JSX. So that is why whenever you click something, you can call a function on the event, or you can create an event, because what React does, it will add logic as well to snapshot, using which you can perform something which is after the rendering. That's what I want to say. Rendering takes a snapshot in time. This is also very important. We're gonna add this in our line as well. Okay, rendering means, and what exactly rendering means at the time of render. This is a very important paragraph. Don't worry, if you are new, I will share this Notion link in the description box probably, so you can do that. Okay, when React re-renders a component, React calls your function again. Okay, your function returns a new JSX snapshot. React then update the screen on the match of the snapshot you have returned. So this is the form. JSX is sent. React will update the DOM based on your whatever you sent. As a component, memory state is not a regular variable that disappears after your function returns. So we sometimes may not notice this or realize it, that state is not your regular variable, because regular variable will lose their current value once they re-render. State will hold the current value. That's what makes state a special variable. State actually lives in React itself as if on the shelf outside of a function. So how it's able to do that? Because state does not live inside your component, but in React itself, okay? So when React call your component, it gives a snapshot of the state for that particular render. So basically imagine it like you have ingredients for your dish, right? Like salt, pepper, spices. You don't put all these ingredients inside your component, but in a React shelf. Okay, so React shelf has a container with your salt, with one with sugar, one with all the spices and stuff. Now when we re-render that stuff, what React will do, React will see, oh, this component or dish require these kinds of ingredient, like they required salt, they required certain peppers, spice. So React will go to the shelf, pick all that ingredients. Now this ingredient is state and add it to there. Suppose what happened is you use that salt previously before the re-render, and you have it is half, half the capacity it was earlier. So React will have that only half salt. It will not be completely full like in the previous state. If it's making sense, let me rephrase again. My apologies. My English is my second language, so sometimes it's really difficult to explain stuff. But don't worry, I'm learning. We are all a learner here. So yeah. So think states as a ingredients and component as a dish. Okay. Each dish will have their own ingredients like salt, pepper, vegetables, anything. Now, what happens is that whenever you render a component, think you're preparing a dish. So you will add certain ingredients to it. Okay, what like you want to add salt, you want to add certain peppers, certain vegetables, spices, and everything. You cook your dish and you render it on the screen. Now, what happened? You have used certain quantity of your ingredients. Like if your salt, you use 20 gram, not gram, a milligram of salt in the dish. So your container will, if it has a 100 mg, now it will become 80 mg. Now you, what you do in dish, the user said, I want more salt, or so I want, this is not salty enough for me. So what you will gonna do, you wanna add more salt to it. So basically you're changing your state. But thing is that more salt, or the quantity of salt will be now 80 grams because you have already used 20 grams. How this is happening? So if your component is a dish, React is like a shelf where your ingredient will exist, not inside your dish. Okay, so basically what React does, it will pick up the dish or the ingredient from its shelf and add it to your component every time. That's why state is able to hold its current value and the local variables does not. So I'm gonna add this as well here. Awesome. Now when React calls your component, it gives you a snapshot of the state for that particular render. Your component returns a snapshot of UI with a fresh set of props, event handlers in its JSX, calculate using state values that renders. So this is what they have explained. Like React has a shelf, it has certain containers which has all the values. You click that, you set the React, oh I want this number, React will get, or you just change the state, it will update it, send it to your component. Here's a little experiment to show you how this works. In this example, you might expect clicking +3 button, it would increment the counter 3 times, but it calls set number +1 3 times. See what happens when you click the button. Okay, let's see what is happening. So basically what they are saying here is whenever I click this button, it should set the number +3, not +1, because I'm setting number +1 here. I'm setting number I'm setting the number 3 times. So let's see if this will happen or not. If I click no. Why this is not happening? If you know the answer, pause this video and type it in the comment. Okay, so the answer is whenever you call the first set number, it will re-render it. Okay, so our state is 0 right now, it will become 1. So the current value of the state is the set numbers. Okay, now this two set numbers will never be called because first one will always re-render the screen and it will have only the current value which can be increased by only 1. So if you really want to increase it by 3, you need to write it 3 instead of this, and you should remove all these things. I love this site because you can just do whatever you want.